All right, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the NHL final breakdown, analysis, reaction, whatever we're calling this series of the NHL finals. Florida Panthers have won. They're back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. They've won in 6 games. Um, and I guess I predicted it. I know during the main show I did say Edmonton were going to pull away, but my initial thoughts and reaction for the first video was Florida in 6. And this is what we have Florida in 6. Yeah, just gonna get right into it. Really a great final. Of I don't want to call it better than last year's final because I feel like this final had more drama in a weird way than last year. Last year had the dramatic Game 7. The build up to that Game 7 was really fun. Um, but I feel like the first 4 games of the series were really, even Game 5 to a degree, but were really, the definition of playoff hockey, especially that Game 4. But Florida win game one. Edmonton win game 1 in overtime. Just to get the party started and get the barn burning up in Edmonton. Really was a fun matchup. And then Florida punched right back with an overtime winner of their own split series. Then Florida dominate game 3. Probably the one domination game I would call it, apart from game 5 as well. I mean game 6 as well. And then Edmonton win what I'm considering the best uh, game in a final. This game 4, I'm sorry, was honestly one of the best final games I've ever seen. Um, Super fun, super dramatic. Uh, Coming all the way back, then taking the lead Edmonton did, then Sam Reinhart scoring the last couple of seconds, maybe 20 seconds if I'm remembering it right. And then Edmonton come back to win in overtime through Leon Draisaitl. It was super magical. Then their magic ended there as Florida win Game 5 and then eventually go on to win Game 6. So that was kind of how that broke down. And look, I mean, like it was a really fun matchup because both teams counter each other so well. Florida want to be physical. They want to assert their dominance. They want to try to get you into petty traps and have you try to counterpunch and try to out physical them. You can't. They like to play the grind down game. They like to play without the puck a lot. They're a really solid defensive team and they have a really good goaltender in Bobrovsky that they rely on. And Edmonton like to play up tempo. They like to play fast. They like to move the puck around, quick passes, a lot of shots on goal, and playing through the middle. And while not having the elite goaltender like Sergei Bobrovsky, they kind of do it by committee with Stuart Skinner and Kevin Pickard. So it really was an interesting matchup, and you saw that in the first, 4-ish games, apart from Game 3, where these two styles just kind of counteracted each other really well. And when they're both at an elite level, you could see the high-packed and fun games you can get. But I think what you saw, I think we're going to start with Edmonton here. What you saw is that Edmonton just kind of ran out of ideas. You know, having an offensively heavy style and having that, you know, top heavy lineup of Draisaitl and McDavid, who were spectacular in these playoffs. They finished top scorer both on 33 points. Draisaitl 11 goals, and McDavid kind of was a little bit quiet in the playoffs, 7 goals in the playoffs. Um, but still producing at a high level, still doing his thing. And then you have, the secondary scoring. Evan Bouchard had a lot of really good points. Ryan Hopkins was really solid. Corey Perry, he's an ageless wonder at this point. Um, and yeah, I think like you kind of see the secondary scoring in Edmonton kind of come through here. And I do feel like I said in the video, this was a better Edmonton team that they had compared to last year's team. I thought it was a deeper team. And to a degree, that worked. But I think what failed them here is that they were still too reliant on Draisaitl and McDavid. And Florida just found a way to shut those two guys down. Sam Reinhart, I thought, did a great job. Sam Bennett, I thought, did a great job. Barkov was superb as a two-way player in this series. Aaron Ekblad was really good. Even like just the Florida defense alone just did a great job shutting down that top pair when it mattered, especially in the last 2 games, Game 5 and Game 6. You saw how much impact that them not having on the game affected Edmonton. Um, and that's kind of been Florida's MO, shut down the two big guys. But I think also the really, really, really key moment in this series was Edmonton's goaltending problems. And look, it was very much improved compared to last year. Stuart Skinner had a really good playoff, but he's not that consistent, and he's susceptible to giving up a weak goal. And Kevin Pickard is a solid backup. He's going to make the saves he's supposed to make, but he's not going to be. He's going to let a few in. That's kind of his mo. And you saw that, both of them had 7 wins. Both of them shared time in the net. Both of them, and it could have been to Chris Knobloch's, the coach of Edmonton's advantage, to kind of play whoever he wanted to play. But he kept going with Skinner for the most part and pulling him whenever he felt like he needed to. So you could always kind of rely on that, and that you have two solid guys. But in the final, you need elite and consistent goaltending. And that's exactly what Florida got from Bobrovsky. It was elite and consistent, especially, again, in the last 2 games. You just saw a complete and utter Florida defensive masterclass, and Paul Maurice shutting down the top 2 pair and getting that consistent goaltending that you need at this level to compete. So I'm not going to entirely blame Stuart Skinner or Calvin Pickard. I'm not going to blame McDavid or Draisaitl. Edmonton they did the best they could. It's a tough Florida team to beat, especially in a 7-game series. To win 4 from them is really hard. And you feel like you had your opportunity in that game 5. But every game in this series, Florida had a lead at some point, right? And you just felt, or at least they were tied or had a lead, right? Florida was never really out of any game. They were always either coming back to win, or they were getting off such a high, is like a 3-goal lead or a 4-goal lead, and just never letting that go. They kind of lost it in game 4 and ended up losing that game, but they still had a lead in that game late, going into the third period. And just it's such an uphill battle for Edmonton to climb multiple times that the scoring of McDavid and Draisaitl cannot make up for. They need more consistent scoring. They need high-end scoring that can kind of break down elite defenses like Florida. And just, I think even though speed is your game, and moving the puck quick and getting the puck deep, and throwing shots on net is their game, I still think you need that level of physicality that they just did not have. Evander Kane kind of gave them that, but Florida, you have everybody on Florida who could hit, who could check, and who could easily be a bruiser as well as being an elite goal scorer. And Edmonton just don't have that. It's not like you need it, but when you're playing Florida, you kind of need those players like that can match with them physically, and that you can kind of grind with them. And I think Edmonton Florida grinded them down little by little, in that game 5, and especially in that game 6, just completely outwilled them. And part of Edmonton's strategy is their elite power play, and their power play is really good. I mean, come on, it's McDavid, it's Draisaitl, it's a really elite power play. But Florida, looking at the numbers, make sure I get the percentages correct. Florida has an 86.4 penalty kill throughout the playoffs. That is the best in the playoffs. And Edmonton, over 25% for the power play, which is really good. But literally right behind them on the power play is Florida with 25.3. Right? So I think at this level and at this kind of stage, you want your power play and your penalty kill to be kind of similar. And Florida has ecstasy where they have the best penalty kill and one of the better power plays. And they have a really good power play, but their penalty kill definitely lacks. And you saw it here, especially in game 4 where Sam Reinhart just took over. Yeah, I mean, it was just a spectacular series from Florida, and just to tie the bow on Edmonton here, they had a really good run. They had a really, really solid final. You kind of felt like it was coming. that was just the kind of year they were having. Then they beat the Kings in 6, the Knights in 5, and Dallas in 5. So it was really three tough teams. I'm not gonna say their window's close. I think if you have Edmonton and if you have McDavid and Draisaitl together, your window will always be open. You have to just continue to build around them. I think you have to maybe retool, and maybe try to get more physicality from your players, or maybe try to get another elite scorer in there that can pair with the two of them. And I think your main issue is your goaltending. Your goaltending failed you here. Your goaltending failed you last year. It's not even like it failed you. You just need more consistency, and you need to have a starter in there that could just that could be elite. And I don't know if there's anybody out there right now that could confidently say that that's their guy to go get. Um, but I definitely feel like it's something to address, and it needs to be addressed if this team wants to go far. Because I do think they are still the better team in the West, in the Western Conference. I think the West is still wide open. I think as long as you have McDavid and Draisaitl healthy, you're going to compete and you're going to go far. So I think just addressing the goaltending issue could really take this team to a new level and maybe push that team over the hump. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. Moving on to Florida. I mean, they're a juggernaut. They're back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Paul Maurice did a great job, and their defense won some championships. Like this is a team that is scoring by committee. This is a team that is every line's its own function and its own role. It is built perfectly. They've made great trades. Brad Marchand was such a necessary addition to this lineup and a perfect addition to this lineup. He brings scoring, he brings physicality, he brings toughness. He just fits. Um, and defensively, they're all freaking good. They're just big bodies who block shots, hit people, push them to the boards, win the board battle. They win every single board battle. It's crazy how many board battles they win in a game. Um, and overall, like it's just a really really solid team. Seth Jones, Kulikov, Forsling, Mikula, Nate Schmidt, like a great, just big body boys making defensive plays. Um, and the cherry on top is Sergei Bobrovsky. One of the more consistent goaltenders of this playoff, of this generation. Um, Now it's two Stanley Cups into his name. Uh, and yeah, like he doesn't need to do that much work because the defense in front of him is really good. And while he's getting up there in age and he might be losing a step or two, as long as the team in front of you is playing really good defense, limiting the shots on goals, and not allowing McDavid and Draisaitl to do the typical stuff, he still was great enough to make the saves he's supposed to make and be really solid. And he made elite saves as well. Like, I'm not saying like he didn't. He made elite saves and he was a big difference in this series. And yeah, game 5 and game 6, they just completely shut Edmonton down. And even the game 3, like I think of the game 3, that was kind of like, okay, this is the Florida team we know. This is the Florida team that is going to play defense and be very consistent. And I think here what you're seeing is just kind of wash, rinse, and repeat. They got better. They added more to this team. Um, and even the addition of Sam Bennett, who was hurt for most of last year, having a full playoff run with Sam Bennett, you see what he did winning the Conn Smythe deserved. Um, he was elite. I mean, he was spectacular in this game. And while not playing contributing factor too much in the final, a couple of goals here and there, he was a big part of the playoff run as well. And Sam Reinhart scoring 4 goals in Game 6. It's why you pay him that money. It's why you keep your core together. It's why you can continue to win and win and win when you have a consistent core like they've had for years now. It's been a slow build in Florida. It's been a really slow build, but they finally got the right players in there. They've got the right coach, and they just have their identity. They're a defensive first team that grind teams down and they hit hard. Matthew Tkachuk does, and they score. They have elite scoring. Barkov can score. Reinhardt can put 40 in. Matthew Tkachuk is there. They have the scoring to allow them to play that defensive style and play without the puck. And overall, like it's a very simple style. It's very simple. They built the team the right way. They have the right coach for it, and they're coached well. It's such a good team. It's such a really, really, really good team that finally is, I guess not finally, but like is getting that recognition. Um, and Edmonton just had no answer for it. They had no player to answer for it. And the game plan to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl and kind of box him in and not allow him to have any time and space just really worked. Paul Maurice knows what he's doing. I think I said it in the video as well. Paul Maurice is the better coach. He's always going to be the better coach here. And he made adjustments after game two. You saw it in game three where they just completely shut down Edmonton on the road. And then game five as well, the micro adjustments there. And then he just ran Sam Reinhart out there and he scored 4 goals in game six. So, and like Paul Maurice, he did a great job. He didn't have to worry about his goaltender. He didn't have to worry about his star players. He knew what he had to do. They knew what they had to do. Everybody had a role to play and they played it. And overall, it was a very, very, very just great effort from everybody involved. Probably the best team in the playoffs. Just again, it's hard to beat them in 4 games or in 7 games. It's really hard. They beat Tampa Bay in 5. Toronto gave them the most trouble. Because Toronto could also be physical with them and score with them. That's kind of how they were able to beat them and take 3 games from them. But the experience won out there. They demolished Carolina, and then they beat Edmonton 6. So I mean, like their playoff run was their playoff run. Really solid. And overall, like I think just the defense from Florida won. Defense wins championships, and it's won them too. You know, these aren't fluke championships; these are legit contenders. And when push came to shove, the defense came through, and they won them these games. So shout out to Florida. Well deserved Stanley Cup. Well deserved win. And again, this wasn't the best team this season. These teams weren't the best teams in the regular season. But these are 2 teams that are built for the playoffs, and they're built to go deep into the playoffs. And for Florida especially, the way they play, their style, and their stamina allows them to go deep into playoff games and allows them to go into the Stanley Cup final looking like the fresher team and getting the job done. It's that experience here that matters, and that knowing how to win these games is what matters. And you saw that here. And Paul Maurice, man, I mean, I've been a big advocate of him. I love him as a coach. I thought he did a really good job. I thought he got a rough deal. And I think Florida gave him a really good opportunity. He brought his style, he brought his players, he brought his mentality, and he did a really great job. I think they're going to be a force in the East. I do not think it's tough. Actually, it's tough because they could roll the same team out there, couple of adjustments here and there. I think the big question is who they keep, whether it's Sam Bennett or Brad Marchand, because I think both of them. I think it's hard to keep both. I think they could probably afford to keep one. I think if you're going to keep one, it'll be Sam Bennett. I think you could let Marchand walk. Um, but overall, I think it's like you're arguing over 1 or 2 players for a core that's been together for a long time, and it's still going to play together. So as long as this team is healthy, it's going to be tough to beat them, especially in 7 games. They're a tough playoff team. Absolutely. They are such a grind you down team that continues to just rotate players in and out, and they keep their core players together. So we'll see. I mean, will there be a hangover? Probably there usually is. Do I think this team could stay together? Yeah. Do I think this team could repeat? We have to see. I mean, I'm not going to make that prediction now. I think it's a good possibility, depending on how free agency trickles out and who they keep, what they trade for, what they add. But I think if you have that core group together and Paul Maurice together, and you continue to churn pieces out, you could get a Tampa Bay Lightning situation where like it's 3 and 4 years, or a Blackhawk situation where it's like 3 and 6. This team could be a dynasty. just by their style and the way they play. But yeah, I mean, this was a really, really fun final. It is I've said it in the main show. The NHL just does their playoffs so much better than everybody else. It's not even close sometimes, and this just proves that even more. I love the NHL playoffs. I think it's the best and the toughest playoff to win in terms of every round being such a grind. Um, and yeah, I think overall, super fun final, deserved champion. And like you don't have to be the best team in the league to win a Stanley Cup. You just got to be built for it. And I think that's what you're seeing here. Two teams that were built for it. That's gonna do it for me. Hope everybody enjoyed the breakdown, analysis, reaction, whatever it is, of Stanley Cup final. Probably be back doing another NHL video around sometime during the draft. We'll see. Hope everybody enjoys. Thank you for listening, for sticking around. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out our social media pages. Check out our sub pages as well. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys next time.